Ever feel stuck at work? Like, your boss just doesn't get you.
Yeah, that feeling is all too common, unfortunately.
Well, today we're diving into self-leadership and the One-Minute Manager
Oh, great book.
to explore how taking charge of your own growth can transform your work life.
Absolutely. It's about understanding that leadership isn't just a title, it's a mindset.
Right, right.
And this book uses a really engaging approach. Think magic tricks and relatable stories to break down some complex ideas.
Okay, magic tricks and work advice. I'm intrigued, but skeptical. What's the connection?
Well, the book centers around this young advertising executive named Steve. He's struggling in his new role, on the verge of quitting, actually,
Oh, no.
when he meets Cayla, who just happens to be a master of self-leadership and a pretty incredible magician.
Convenient? Much. Okay, I'm listening. So, does Kyla wave a magic wand and suddenly Steve's the CEO?
Not quite. But she does use magic to illustrate her points. For example, she teaches Steve about assumed constraints through a simple card trick. Imagine trying to cut a hole in a business card big enough to fit your head through.
Oh, wow.
Seems impossible, right?
Absolutely. I'd bet money I couldn't do it.
Exactly. And that's how we limit ourselves with assumed constraints. We base what we think we can do on past experiences, often without questioning if those limitations still apply. Remember the story about baby elephants being tied to a stake?
Oh, yeah?
They grow up believing they can't break free even when they're strong enough to do so.
Okay, I get it. We all carry these elephant thinking moments with us. But how do we actually break free at work?
It starts with recognizing those self-imposed limitations. Think about a time you held back from contributing an idea because you assumed it wouldn't be well received. That's a potential assumed constraint. The first step is simply becoming aware of them.
So challenge those assumptions. Like, wait, what if my idea is brilliant and everyone just needs to hear it? I like it.
Exactly. Question those limitations. Now, once you start breaking free from those constraints, you can move on to the next trick, celebrating your points of power.
Points of power. Okay, now you've piqued my interest. This isn't about demanding a corner office, is it?
Not at all. It's about recognizing the unique strengths you bring to the table, regardless of your job title. The book illustrates this through a visit to, get this, a Harley-Davidson repair shop.
Wait, what does fixing motorcycles have to do with self-leadership?
Well, Steve's motorcycle breaks down, and surprise, surprise, Kyla is there with another lesson.
Of course she is.
She points out that everyone at the shop, from the mechanic to the parts manager, has a unique point of power that makes them valuable.
Okay.
The mechanic's technical expertise,
Right.
the parts manager's knowledge of inventory, the receptionist's ability to calm a frustrated customer. These are all points of power.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Starting to see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So it's about identifying your own strengths, but how do I figure out what my points of power actually are?
Yeah. It starts with self-awareness.
Okay.
What are you naturally good at?
Mm-hmm.
What do people come to you for help with?
Yeah.
It could be your knack for explaining complex ideas,
Right.
your talent for organization, or even your ability to connect with people from different backgrounds.
I never thought of those everyday skills as points of power.
Right.
It's easy to downplay the things we're naturally good at.
Absolutely. But once you identify those strengths, you can start using them more strategically to influence outcomes, build relationships, and ultimately, feel more effective in your role.
Okay. I'm starting to see the light here.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize what makes you valuable. Don't be afraid to own it and use it to your advantage.
Right.
But let's be real. Even with superpowers, we can't do everything alone, right? Which brings us to...
Collaboration.
Right.
The third trick of self-leadership. The book highlights this through Steve's girlfriend, Blair, who's training for a 10K race. She has the physical ability, but lacks the confidence.
We've all been there. That feeling of, I think I can, but what if I can't? So how does collaboration play into this?
Well, Steve realizes Blair doesn't need him to, run the race for her. She needs his support and guidance as a running partner. It's about recognizing that even the most capable people need help sometimes, and knowing how to ask for it is a strength, not a weakness.
So it's about being honest with ourselves about where we need support and then finding the right people to help us bridge that gap.
Precisely. And this is where the book introduces the idea of the development continuum. Basically, it's a way of understanding that we need different levels of support and direction depending on our skill level and experience in a particular area.
Okay, so if I'm just starting out in a new role, I might need a lot of direction from my manager. But as I gain experience, I might need less hand-holding and more support in terms of feedback or brainstorming.
Exactly. And the key is to be able to articulate those needs clearly and directly. The book emphasizes the power of simply saying, you know, I need more guidance on this project, or I need your feedback on this presentation.
I love how practical that is. It's not about being demanding or needy. It's about taking ownership of your development and communicating your needs effectively.
And that in itself is a powerful act of self-leadership. It demonstrates that you're self-aware, proactive, and committed to your growth.
So we've got these three key tricks: challenging assumed constraints, celebrating our points of power, and embracing collaboration. They seem pretty straightforward in theory, but how does this all come together in practice? Did Steve actually manage to turn things around?
Oh, absolutely. Steve puts these tricks into action as he prepares for a crucial meeting with his boss, Rhonda, about a big client, United Bank.
Okay.
The stakes are high, he could lose the account or even his job.
Talk about pressure. I can already feel my heart racing just thinking about it.
It's in those high-pressure situations where those self-leadership muscles really get tested. Steve's tempted to fall back on old habits, blaming others, feeling defeated before he even starts.
Right, it's easy to let those negative thoughts creep in when you're feeling overwhelmed.
Mhm.
So what does Steve do? Does he pull a rabbit out of his hat?
Well, he channels his inner Cayla. He remembers the development continuum and realizes he needs to be honest with himself and Rhonda about where he needs support. He recognizes that he's still learning the ropes with this particular client and could use more guidance.
Instead of trying to present himself as the expert, he admits he needs help. That takes courage.
Exactly. And it's a game changer. Instead of dreading the meeting, Steve goes in prepared to own his mistakes, ask specific questions, and collaborate with Rhonda on a new plan for the United Bank campaign.
And the big reveal. How does it go?
Spoiler alert, it's a smashing success. Rhonda appreciates Steve's honesty and willingness to learn. They come up with a killer campaign that not only saves the account, but wins awards. All because Steve embraced the principles of self-leadership.
So the magic of self-leadership isn't about some mystical transformation. It's about taking practical steps to understand yourself better, recognize your strengths, and be proactive about seeking the support you need to thrive.
That's the beauty of it. These aren't just concepts confined to a book. They're tools we can all use to navigate the ups and downs of our careers and achieve greater success, however we define it.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. So for our listeners who are ready to unlock their own leadership potential, where should they start?
Remember those three key takeaways. Challenge your assumed constraints, celebrate your points of power, and collaborate for success. Start by asking yourself, what's one limiting belief holding me back? What's one strength I can leverage today? And who can I reach out to for support?
Powerful questions to ponder. It's clear the magic of self-leadership lies within each of us. It's about taking ownership of our growth and recognizing that leadership is a journey, not a destination. Thanks for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and remember, your potential is limitless.